Set in Japanese-occupied Korea, this film is about a Korean handmaiden who falls in love with her Japanese heiress. So these two eventually get into a relationship and begin an intimate affair. However, to live happily ever after, they need to overcome a lot of obstacles ahead, like getting away from the pervy uncle, learning to trust each other, and so on. Now, while I was watching this movie, I couldn't help but think that the whole concept of this film is so complicated that it could have fallen for a badly written Wattpad story. However, it's polished properly and just overall wonderful. With that said, let's find out if after all of these complications, they're going to end up with each other. I sure hope so, so let's go. Hello guys and girls, this is V and you're watching Movies Hunter. So the movie that I am going to be talking about in this video is a drama romance thriller film released in 2016 called The Handmaiden. Don't forget to subscribe, it's free. So, in the opening scene, we see a young woman named Suki who is preparing to move away from her home and move into the estate of Lady Hideko. After a very long drive, she reaches this large estate in the countryside. It is literally so big and beautiful, and it looks like an expensive but haunted dollhouse that I wish I had as a kid. Sort of, and I still do, so please subscribe so I can buy one. Anyway, a woman greets her and gives her a tour of the grounds. Suki will be sleeping in this small box next to Lady Hideko's room as she is her handmaiden. Later that night, Suki awakens when she hears Lady Hideko screaming. Lady Hideko tells her that she had a nightmare, and that her aunt had hung herself from the big cherry tree outside a long time ago, and she often sees her ghost dangling from the branch. She then screams again, which scares Suki. Suki comforts the lady and helps her sleep by singing her a lullaby. The next morning, Suki formally introduces herself to Lady Hideko. Suki tells her that she has heard Count Fujiwara has fallen in love with her beauty. Lady Hideko is not surprised by this and leaves to go to a reading practice, which she will do alone with her uncle Kazuki. Soon after she leaves, Suki begins exploring the house and the environment, and it's so unrealistically gorgeous. I mean, just look at this. Anyways, she accidentally gets to the library where she finds Lady Hideko with her uncle. She tries to approach them but is shocked to see a snake. Yike, just look at this. Oh my god. Later on, Suki bathes Lady Hideko. When Lady Hideko complains that one of her teeth is sharp, Suki grabs a thimble and begins shaking it down. While doing so, Suki can't help but silently admire Lady Hideko's body. Later on, Count Fujiwara arrives at the estate. He calls for Suki to run an errand for him. Suki then reveals through a voiceover that she is not at all a Korean handmaiden, but a pickpocket. Basically, both the Count and Suki are scammers and they are together in this scheme. Anyway, in the voiceover, Suki recalls that she was raised by a woman who adopts children and teaches them how to steal and commit forgeries. Now, the woman would take in abandoned babies and sell them to Japan. In the flashback, Count Fujiwara visited the House of Thieves and told them about a Korean interpreter who helped Japan annex Korea in exchange for a gold mine. The man then married the daughter of a Japanese noble and got naturalized. And this man is none other than Lady Hideko's Uncle Kazuki. He has become like a collector and he collects rare books and auctions them off. But since he doesn't want to sell the original work, he has hired Count Fujiwara to create forgeries. So basically, his uncle is also a scammer and is evil because after his wife died, he then planned to marry Lady Hideko, his niece, to take control of her fortune. But Count Fujiwara plans to make Lady Hideko fall in love with him instead and inherit her fortune. Now, if his plan basically goes well, he will send Lady Hideko to a madhouse in Japan. So basically, he is also cruel. Anyways, he asks Suki to help him in his plan by becoming Lady Hideko's handmaiden. Her job is basically to persuade, or say manipulate, Lady Hideko to marry Count Fujiwara. In return, he will give her a huge sum of money along with Lady Hideko's clothes and jewelry. Back in the present time, Suki then tells the Count that she thinks Lady Hideko is naive and doesn't know how the world works. Count Fujiwara then directs Suki to further convince Lady Hideko that she is falling in love with him. But Suki somehow feels bad for Lady Hideko knowing that she is going to be sent to the madhouse soon enough. Anyway, one day, Count Fujiwara helps Lady Hideko draw a painting. Lady Hideko is beginning to fall for the Count and doesn't resist him anymore. Suki also continues telling Lady Hideko that her cheeks have grown flushed since the Count arrived and all that sort of stuff to sort of low-key manipulate her into thinking she is in love. But Lady Hideko isn't really convinced and asks Suki about her mother. Lady Hideko then opens up that her mother died in childbirth and she blames herself, in a way, for her mother's death. But Suki tells her, and I love this part by the way because it just looked genuine. So yeah, Suki was just like, no baby should be guilty of being born, and that her mother would have been very proud to have given life to her. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful line. Anyway, one day, Suki catches Lady Hideko and Count Fujiwara kissing each other. Suki is shocked to see this and feels a little jealous. She reminds herself that she came here for money only and that she should not fall in love with Lady Hideko. Well, guess what? Too late. So later that night, Lady Hideko calls Suki and asks her to sleep in bed with her as she can feel a nightmare coming. Lady Hideko then reveals that the Count has proposed to her. He wants to elope with her to Japan when her uncle will leave to visit his gold mine, but she isn't sure if she should accept his proposal. So basically, Suki and the Count's scheme is going just as planned. Lady Hideko then asks Suki what men want on the wedding night. Suki then teaches her how to kiss by literally demonstrating to her. The two then remove each other's clothes and end up somehow making love. The next day, when Count makes advances towards the not-so-comfortable Lady Hideko, Suki feels that it wasn't right, she kind of feels a little jealous and just interrupts him. So later on, Count Fujiwara yells at Suki for not helping him with his plan. He reminds her of her family who is waiting at home for her return with money. So Suki agrees to help him on the condition that he will not hurt Lady Hideko. Later on, Suki tells Lady Hideko that she should consider accepting Count Fujiwara's proposal. Lady Hideko says that she has fallen in love with someone else. But Suki insists on accepting the proposal, which makes Lady Hideko furious and slaps Suki in anger. She then kicks her out of her room. The next day, Lady Hideko accepts Count Fujiwara's proposal on the condition that Suki will also go with them to Japan. When Uncle Kazuki leaves the estate, Lady Hideko and Suki run away and leave for Japan with Count Fujiwara on a ship. Soon after reaching Japan, Lady Hideko and Count Fujiwara get married. Anyway, a few weeks later, Suki tells Count Fujiwara to hurry up and throw Hideko in the madhouse already. So Fujiwara quickly cashes out all of Hideko's inheritance. Later on, two men come from the madhouse and ask Suki what kind of treatment she would suggest for Hideko. Suki says that she wants her confined to a place where no one can harm her and she can do no harm. Now, at the madhouse, Suki hugs Hideko one last time and bids her goodbye. But then, plot twist, the doctors grab Suki instead of Hideko and drag her into the madhouse. Yes, so as it turns out, Hideko and Fujiwara are actually accomplices all along, and that this is what they have been planning for a long time. Basically, both of them are scammers. So yeah, they told the doctors that Suki is Lady Hideko. With that, we get another voice-over flashback. In this flashback, we see Lady Hideko as a young girl. She is taught to read Japanese books by her uncle. But the books are actually very sexual books, which Uncle Kazuki puts up for auction. Now, Uncle Kazuki, this evil SOAB, wanted Hideko to take over her aunt's role, who was slowly going mad because of her continuous torture and humiliation. Now, Uncle Kazuki tells Hideko that she has a touch for lunacy just like her mother, so he is trying to teach her so that she doesn't get sent to the madhouse in Japan. Again, what an SOAB. But one day, Hideko's aunt is found dead by killing herself right on the cherry tree. Soon after that, Hideko continues training herself and eventually takes her aunt's place. She reads out the books for the collectors and sometimes she even performs demonstrations of the material for the audience. Now, Count Fujiwara was one of the buyers who then got hired by Kazuki for forgeries. Count Fujiwara tells him that all the women in the estate are attracted to him except for one, which is Lady Hideko. He also says that he heard about Kazuki's engagement to her and suggests him to go easy on her or else she will be literally dead inside. Anyway, one night, Fujiwara goes to meet Hideko in her room and surprise, surprise, he was just like, hey, I know I can't manipulate or seduce you, so I'm here to tell you how you can escape from your uncle. So Lady Hideko was interested and she just listened to his plan, which involved cashing out her inheritance and then splitting the money. But Hideko says that her uncle will eventually find her sooner or later. She also tells him about the basement where Kazuki used to torture people. So yeah, back when Hideko was young, Kazuki, this evil man, took her to the basement and showed her what he did to her aunt when she was alive. So the Count gives Hideko this poisonous liquid and tells her that if she ever got caught and got sent to the basement, 3 drops will make her sleep, 5 will knock her out, and all of it will basically kill her. Hideko then agrees with this plan and demands to find a handmaiden for her, whom they will send to the madhouse under Hideko's name. So Fujiwara then hired Suki to become the new handmaiden of Hideko. Suki thought that she was manipulating Hideko, but in truth, she was being manipulated by Hideko the entire time. However, as Hideko spent more time with Suki, she also began to grow fond of her and eventually fell in love with her. She also noticed that Suki got jealous whenever she saw her and Fujiwara getting too close. So one day, she told Fujiwara that she wants to quit. But Fujiwara told her that Suki doesn't love her and only thinks of her as an easy target. So later that night, when Hideko tried to confess her feelings for Suki, but then Suki did not hear her out and just kept on repeating to marry the Count, Lady Hideko tried to commit suicide by hanging herself from the same branch her aunt once hanged herself. But Suki comes there and saves her in time. She then confesses that she was trying to trick her into marrying Fujiwara and then put her in a madhouse. Hideko also confesses about her plan to send Suki to the madhouse. She then helps Suki write a letter to her family to inform them that she has now teamed up with Hideko. The day when Kazuki left for the gold mines, Hideko showed Suki the very sexual books she had to read out to the clients. Suki was furious and destroys the library. Hideko calls Suki her savior and joins her in destroying the library. The two then leave for Japan with Fujiwara just like originally planned. So back in the present time, after leaving Suki at the madhouse, Hideko goes to have lunch with Fujiwara. Now, Fujiwara tells her that she will now assume the identity of Suki. He also expresses that he might actually like Hideko and asks her to marry again, but this time as Suki. Meanwhile, a fire is set in the madhouse. Suki's family members come there and rescue Suki from the madhouse. Now back at the hotel, Hideko puts the poison into a wine glass and offers it to Fujiwara. But since he does not drink it, Hideko drinks from his glass and kisses him, which transfers the wine with the poison from her mouth to his. Smart move. Now, Fujiwara then becomes more aggressive and tries forcing himself on her, but before he can harm her, he passes out from the poison in the wine. Hideko then takes all the money and leaves to reunite with Suki. Suki uses her forgery skills and creates a new identity for Hideko by dressing her as a man. Hideko then writes a letter to her uncle telling him that Count Fujiwara is a con man who is actually the son of a Korean farmhand and is not Japanese. Soon after learning about this betrayal, Kazuki captures Fujiwara and takes him to his basement, where he tortures Fujiwara by cutting off his fingers, one by one. He then, with that sick mind of his, asks Fujiwara to tell him about his wedding night with Hideko in detail. But Fujiwara ignores him and asks for a cigarette, which Kazuki grabs from his clothes. After smoking numerous cigarettes, Fujiwara tells Kazuki that the cigarettes were actually filled with mercury and they are now poisoned from the smoke. Shortly afterwards, Kazuki dies. As for Fujiwara, he inhales the air and dies. Meanwhile, Suki and Hideko manage to escape the country on a ship. They go to the room and freely express their love to each other. And I'm so happy for them. They are now free from their past and can finally start afresh together. It's really a very, very beautiful and clever film, and I do suggest for you to watch it. Anyway, that's all for today. This was the story of The Handmaiden. Subscribe, like the video, and I will see you in the next hunt.